So this is, basically turning on my calculator, and I want to put it in the correct mode for degrees or radians. So you'd select mode here, and you can see radians and degrees. So you just bring your cursor down till it's flashing on radians. If you want to switch over degrees, you come here. Okay. All right. So that's not anything major. So I'm going to go ahead and put it on degrees, and we need to talk about doing secant and cosine. So if you look here on your screen, we've got sine, cosine, and tangent. There is no secant, cosecant, or cotangent function. All right, so what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to kind of get creative. We know that secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the reciprocal means the flip, right? So I'm going to change my fraction, right, so that I have 1 over, right, cosine of 24 degrees. Okay. Come out there, 1 over cosine of 24 degrees, hit enter, and I get 1.09463, etc., which is 1.095, which is what we got with the other. So when I want to do cotangent, that's the reciprocal of tangent, so I do 1 over tangent of negative 206.7. Okay, hit enter, and there we go. Same answers, just a little bit different. Here's where it's going to get a little weird. Okay, I'm going to change my mode back to radians. And now we're looking at where we have cotangent of pi over 2. So alpha y equals, to get our fraction. Okay, we're going to... All right, so we have 1 over tangent of pi over 2. So let's see, our pi key on this calculator, I've misplaced it. Oh yes, it's right over here. So we do second of our caret key, and then divided by 2. Close the parentheses, come out, hit enter. And on this calculator, we got error domain. On the other calculator, we got 0. The reason is tangent of pi over 2 was undefined. And so if we take 1 over something that's undefined, the calculator doesn't really know what to do with that. So when you get error statements, or you get undefined on the TI-84 or other calculators like it, you're going to have to do them by hand. Okay? All right. So that's pretty much all there is with that section. Let's go back to the worksheet now. Okay, so you filled these in from your graphing calculator. I'm not going to take the time to write them down here. I showed them all to you on the screen. Okay, on this section, these will be blank unless you're using the 84. Okay, if you're using the TI-84, then you're going to fill in these sections here with your 1 over, as I was showing you on the 84 screen. Okay, so only if you're using the 84 do you need to put anything in here. All right. Okay, let's move it along. And it says solving simple trig equations, non-calculator. I know, I just let you use your calculator, now I'm taking it away again. I'm so cruel. All right, so find values of theta that satisfy the equation for 0 degrees to 360, or from 0 to 2 pi. List your results in degrees and radians. Do not use a calculator. So just go ahead and put it aside. It's going to be okay. All right, so over here we have our steps of what we're going to do. It says ignore the sign of the answer and find the reference angle of alpha. Okay, so sine of alpha is going to equal the square root of 3 over 2. So we're just going to write that here. Sine of alpha equals square root of 3 over 2. Okay, ignoring the negative. All right, so we think about that for just a moment or two, and we say, hey, that's square root of 3 over 2. I remember that. Where did I see that? Oh, yeah, that chart Miss Whitaker keep making me look back to, or using my fingers, right? So if I'm using my hand, which is, I can't draw it up there right now, but remember, I'm looking at my left hand. I've got my thumb up, and I know that square root of 3 over 2 would happen if I had 3 fingers below, right? So I'm pulling down my index finger, which represented 60 degrees. Okay, so I know that sine of 60 degrees is square root of 3 over 2. Okay, so this alpha could be 60 degrees, right? Or it could have been pi over 3. Okay, so that's the reference, right? But because it's negative, now I got to go to the quadrants, and where is sine negative? Well, sine is positive here in the first quadrant and in the second quadrant, but it's negative in both the third and fourth quadrants. So reference for 60 degrees, okay, let's see, if I'm here at 180 and I go another 60 degrees, I'm at 240 degrees. So theta could be 240 degrees. Okay. Or I could have come back from 360 60 degrees, so it could be 300 degrees. Okay. Or if I'm using radians, right, pi over 3, so pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 3 pi, so it could be 4 pi over 3 or 5 pi over 3. Those are all valid answers for theta of negative square root of 3 over 2. All right, so something important to point out over here is each trig function has 2 positive quadrants and 2 negative quadrants. So there should always be 2 answers unless they give you a quadrantal angle. Okay, so this means that trig functions are not one-to-one. Okay, they are not one-to-one functions. All right, so cotangent of the square root of 3. Okay, so we go back again, and what could our alpha be? Okay, so if we look at cotangent being the square root of 3, well, I know cotangent is the ratio of x over y. Okay, so to get square root of 3, that would be where our reference angle would be 30 degrees, which is also pi over 6. Okay, now cotangent is positive in the first and the third quadrants. Okay, so theta could be 30 degrees. Okay, but it could also be here, so this would be 180 plus 30, right? So 180 plus 30, which is our 210 degrees. Okay. Or if we go radians, it could be pi over 6, right? And then if we go from pi, one more sixth, we're at 7 pi over 6. Okay, and then cosine of theta being negative 1. All right, that is not on my chart. I can't do my fingers for that. So that's going to be one of our quadrantals. Okay, so when we're looking on our quadrantals, right, we know that cosine could only be negative if x were negative, because we know r can't be negative, right, because that's x over r. Right, so where is on our quadrantals we have negative 1 here, right? X is negative 1. Here we have negative 1, but it's y, the y value. I'm sorry, it's positive 1 up here. Down here it's negative 1, okay? And over here, all things are positive. So the only place that cosine of theta could be negative 1 is here at 180 degrees. So theta could be 180 degrees, or we could write it as pi. Okay, good luck.